Well, we have a little bit of good news. But to start, I wanted to give a little bit of a response. So, as a lot of people said, as did this comment, I should have talked to the labor board or something of that sort, talked to the state, whatever I need to do about this issue. And I did. I actually did contact several different things, several different organizations, labor board, so on and so forth. I even talked to corporate every now and again. But there wasn't a lot of people that were able to help, which is very upsetting. But I did eventually get a solution. So let's get into that. So, as last time, I had gone 4 weeks without getting a single paycheck. That's very frustrating because, if I'm being honest, I can't afford to do that. If I didn't get little bits of income from, say, helping my grandpa, like cut down a tree, or driving a friend to and from, like, work, or to get, like, some laundry done, I wouldn't have been able to survive the 4 weeks that I went without getting a single paycheck. It was really bad. I barely scraped by, and every day I was stressed and more stressed and more stressed and more stressed. But eventually, we made a Facebook post about it. I didn't specifically do it, my roommate's dad did. And if that post gets linked to me through here to find out what happened exactly, that's fine. I'm not really going to care that much about anonymity at this point. But the short version of it is that after that post was made, almost an hour later, like within the hour, I got a phone call from a union representative from another store. The reason we had to do that is because the labor board, like whatever state things that I tried to do, they couldn't actually do anything because working at Kroger, you're part of a union. So, in order to get anything done, you need to talk to the union. But the only reason that I hadn't talked to anyone from the union is because basically everyone that I could use to get through those resources was on vacation literally the week I was trying to get everything done, literally the week that I posted the last video. And the only reason that I didn't post anything sooner is because even now, this is still getting a little bit resolved. It's really frustrating, but we're almost to the end. We're almost at the finish line with this. We've almost made it. But this Kroger keeps doing things. And this is what we're going to talk about here. After I talked to this union representative, who apparently one of his workers saw it on Facebook, brought it to him, and he was like, that is unacceptable. So he called me after he didn't even know I work at a different store than he actually works at. So he didn't even know where I was exactly. He had to look through the database of our stores and find the one that linked to me the most. But he did. And he said that he would get it taken care of. He asked me for all the hours. He said that he would talk to whoever he needed to and get it done. And within the weekend, one weekend of him working, he got more work done than literally 4 weeks of this store trying to work and do absolutely nothing for me. But he did it. He got most of my hours in. That gets to the next part. He was able to get, well, probably the best way for me to explain this is I worked 3 weeks. I worked week 1, week 2, week 3, and then I took the 4th week off. Then the 5th week is when I finally got paid. Week 2 and 3, they were able to put in. Week 1, they were having some trouble putting it in. Okay, that's fine. As long as I actually get paid, that's the part that I'm the most worried about. So they get it in, and I get paid. But here's the problem. One, I got paid literally a month after. A month to the day is the day that I got my first paycheck from this store. Fine, right? I checked the hours that they put in. On my second week that I worked 3 days. All 3 of those days were from 12 to 7. Just a 7-hour shift. It's not that bad. But here's the problem. On all 3 of those days, whenever I came in, I was written down to work those 7 hours and get 2 15-minute breaks. I would have preferred a lunch, but sure. That's what they wrote me down for. That's what I'll do because we're pretty understaffed. On my time that they put in, not only did they put in that I worked from 12:30 to 7, but they said each of those days I took a lunch. So that means that effectively, on every one of those days, I lost an entire hour, 3 hours total from a whole week. That is unacceptable. They were effectively trying to steal from me. But I went in and immediately got it fixed. She put in an extra hour on each of those days so that I actually got paid for the correct time. Fine, right? This week, I'm finally getting in the hours of the first week that I worked. They had to do a little bit of a workaround, but they were able to do it. Effectively, they put the hours in on the 4th week that I didn't work, just to get my hours in, just to get my hours to where they're supposed to be. Fine, right? Wrong. Because they're doing the same thing again that they did when I worked the 2nd week. They're trying to steal my hours again. And I talked to whoever I needed to, and they said they're getting it taken care of. But the fact that this is the 2nd time that they've tried to steal hours from me, this is the 2nd time. This time, instead of shaving off some hours, they just straight up didn't put in an entire day that I worked. It's unfucking believable that I've gone through all of this and they're trying to steal more money from me. I am keeping my eyes on the hours that I've worked like a hawk because of this. And to add on to it, someone who I worked with, because I've been moved to a different department, the head of that department, I will not say their name to keep them anonymous, but the short version is that they were the lead of that department. They were then moved to another department because they needed her somewhere else. But when I started working there, she was the lead. And that's okay. Like, I don't mind that. But she had a problem where, despite being a lead, she was not paid extra for being a lead. I asked, and while I'm not a lead, they did say that if I did become one, I would get extra pay. They didn't say how much exactly, and that doesn't really matter because it's not something I'm actively pursuing at the moment. But the fact that I'm going through all these problems with them shaving off my hours or taking off days, and then this other employee is also not getting paid the extra money that she deserves for being a fuel lead. This is just completely unacceptable. This Kroger needs to be investigated, and that is exactly what I'm going to be doing. I am going to attempt to look into something that I can do in order to see if this place can get investigated, because frankly, the fact that I've had 2 weeks where they've tried to steal hours from me, and then another coworker is just not getting paid the money that she should be, this is completely unacceptable. This Kroger needs something. I don't know. This Kroger needs... Listen, I don't hate Kroger. I mean, I kind of do, but I don't exactly hate Kroger as a whole. This Kroger specifically, though, this Kroger specifically has given me so many problems. Something needs to happen. I don't care what happens. I don't care who needs to be talked to. I don't care what needs to happen. But if they're doing stuff like this to more people than just me, if I'm not the only one who's going through stuff like this, then something needs to happen. This place needs to be shut down. Management needs to change. Something needs to happen. Because if they're doing this on purpose... Oh boy.